All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to episode 997, Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you to everyone out there, as always, for listening to the show, watching, however you consume Talking Buffalo. I appreciate you guys very, very much. I am actually, I'm sure you can probably hear it in the background, whether you're watching or listening on demand, live right now. Imperial Pizza, 1035 Abbott Road in South Buffalo. And I'm joined by a very special guest right now, men's head basketball coach, Daemen Wildcats, the number one ranked D2 school in all the nation. I did not know that until just a couple of days ago. I'm actually embarrassed to not know that. That is incredible. Mike MacDonald, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Patrick. Thanks. We like flying under the radar a little bit. We're okay.
You might like flying under the radar. We talked about this a little bit over our wings here. And by the way, I love Imperial Pizza. I know you're a big fan of their pizza. I love their wings. Some of the best you're going to get anywhere in Buffalo for sure. You like flying under the radar. I said that it's a shame, sad. I don't know, maybe use the right word here. Sad that programs like yours in this city don't get more coverage, the coverage that you guys and a lot of the girl programs deserve as well. And I've said this before on the show, and I'm going to say it right now in front of you and everybody who's watching or listening. It starts with people like me who have these shows, and this is a professional sports town. You know that.
It is, without a doubt.
It's a Bills and a Sabres town, but there are so many great sports and programs at the college level, the high school, the amateur level here that just really fly under the radar a lot more than they should. And I just think, I kind of implore other podcasts or TV shows or the Buffalo News, all these people to step up their coverage, because there's great coaches and great players and great programs like yours that more people should know about. It shouldn't catch me by surprise to learn that Daemen is undefeated right now and the number one team in the entire country.
Well, it's a business decision, right? And
Sure.
It's about getting the clicks nowadays. In the old days, it was,
That's fair.
The paper where you want to be above the fold, right? You want to be in the headline. Now it's about the clicks, and what gets the most clicks? The Bills.
Yeah.
By far. Right? And then the Sabres. But really what floats the boat for everybody is the Bills, and you understand that.
Sure.
This is a Bills town.
Yeah, it is. And look, I'm not saying no people's going to be covering the Buffalo Bills and talking about the Buffalo Sabres. It just, I'd like to see programs like yours get the shine that they deserve a lot more than they do. So,
well, it's been great for us, Patrick. I will tell you this. Our guys during this run have gotten a lot of attention. We've had a lot of the news media been out, Channel 2, Channel 4, Channel 7. Different people have been out to see them, a lot of Buffalo news coverage. And it's great for our guys to have that experience, to have to stand in front of a camera and talk. Nobody wants to listen to the old man. It's great for the kids to be able to be the ones getting interviewed and to have their moment in the sun.
I feel like I was doing some homework this week. I've known you for a while. I've known your name. I know you've been around for a long time. We're going to talk about.
Thanks. Nice way of saying I'm old. Today. Way to go, man.
Well, I'm up there as well. But I was doing homework, learning about your program right now at Daemen. And again, I knew about the record, which, by the way, if you didn't know, is 24-0. That is incredible. And when I was going through your schedule,
knock on wood, right?
Knock on wood. I know.
It's like a no-hitter in baseball. Come on, baby.
All right. I apologize. God, now you got me nervous. But I'm going through,
We know who to blame. Yeah, that's right.
Fair. Going through your schedule and the results this year, which, by the way, starts off with an exhibition game of victory at UB. So we'll get to that in a minute. But so you're 24-0, and as I'm going through the scores and the opponents, I noticed that only 2 games that you've had this season have even been single-digit wins. All but 2 of your wins this season for Daemen have been by double digits. That to me is almost as incredible as what your record is. I won't say 0 anymore with the losses, but just you have a good record, you're a good team. No. But the fact that you guys have been able to win 22 times by double digits, that might be just as impressive to me as anything else.
It's been incredible. And especially going back to, we knew our schedule in November. We had signed up to play, and our games this year, we were playing the number 1 team in the Northeast 10 Conference. They were the preseason number 1. We signed up to play the number 1 team in the PSAC, the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference, which I know you're familiar with.
Yeah.
We played the preseason number 1 in that league. We played teams that were in the Elite 8 last year. We played teams that were Sweet 16 last year in Division 2. So we knew going in that this schedule was going to be very tough. And we talked about it as a team, like, hey, November is going to be brutally tough. We're playing a really tough schedule. Let's try and be really good in November. Let's get off to a good start. And as we won our first couple games, we're saying, all right, let's go undefeated in November. And then once we got undefeated in November, we said, you know what? Let's go undefeated in December.
Yeah.
And we did that. And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, let's go undefeated in January. And it's just, you know what we're going to end up with? Hey, let's try and be undefeated in February too by winning all the games in February. So it's been an incredible run. We have a great group of guys, but we've been challenged from the preseason when we scrimmaged Division I teams. We played UB in an exhibition game, and by challenging our team, we just keep getting better and better.
What was it like for the kids on your team to go, exhibition or not, but to go to UB and play a D1 school in their building?
Well, so we've had some incredible experiences at Daemen since we've been here. These guys. Last year we played UB, and we lost. We were up 4 with about 2 minutes to go, and then I started coaching, and then we lost. We ended up losing by 3, but then right after that we went to Syracuse and played too. So we had the opportunity to play in the Dome against Syracuse, and we lost by 13. Yeah. So we're like, all right, we've had these kind of experiences. I think this year was different. I think our guys really wanted to win. They felt like we came out against UB last year, and we were more in awe of playing at Alumni Arena. And we kind of let one get away. And I think they were a little different this year. And UB's a younger team. We got some older guys. It was just, it was a great – I think our guys knew going in, like, hey, we'd be disappointed if we don't play really well here. And we did play well.
Yeah. Now, so, again, not many close calls this season, but one of them, just his last game, actually, against – we were talking about this over some wings. Shout out Duville College. Boy went
Duville
to
University.
Duville University now.
Right,
well, it was Duville College when I went there. That program has risen.
It's a lot better school now.
I told you, it's a way better school, and I'm sure the basketball program is way better. I played for a year there back in, I think it was like 91. Yeah. And let's just say it wasn't.
I notice how
your
voice goes down 91. Yeah. Like you kind of you don't talk about it as loud.
You think I'd be proud? I technically was a college basketball player. Not a lot of people know that. But anyway. On a serious note, pretty cool though. Two schools from this area, nice. Went to overtime.
Yep, they played very well against us.
For you.
They played very. You know what? It was good for us. We need to be challenged. We need to play. We're gonna have the conference tournament coming up soon. We're gonna have the NCAA tournament coming up soon, and you're gonna get challenged in those games. And we want to, So I think it was great for us to be challenged. You have to make free throws in tough spots. We missed some free throws in tough spots, but it's a learning situation. Every game every time you play, you want to learn, you want to get better. And I think that was a great one, a great challenge for us.
One of my favorite things about learning about your program is going through the roster. And I discovered just how many people are from this area or within a very short drive to be able to get to Daemen from this area. Benjamin Bill went to Hamburg High School.
That's right.
You got Justin Heffel. I got written down here. O'Hara, I actually remember him from O'Hara. I remember that name. Justin Glover from St. Joe's. You got like 5 or 6 other kids that are like from like that Rochester area or closer.
Yep.
How important was it to you to have a roster, to build a roster that's been very successful with as many, I guess we could call them homegrown kids as possible?
So I think we talked about this over the wings a little bit that, first of all, when I was at Canisius, you always said, hey, you start recruiting out your front door and see who you can get. Then when I went to Medaille, it was a Division III school that was not very good. And we said, you know what? We talked about as a parent, and you're a parent of a son who played a sport, played football. My sons were playing basketball. You go to AAU events and you see the parents are so involved. The parents are driving, they're going to the games, and you want to make sure you get them involved. And I thought, you know what, we're going to try and draw a circle within 4 hours of Medaille, and we're going to recruit kids within 4 hours and see if we can not only get them to come to school, but then we can get their parents to come to the games, the grandparents to come to the games. Because you know what? The parents have been invested when they were in high school, when they were playing AAU, and they want to be a part of it too. So it's great if we could do that, if we could be, get those parents to, hey, latch onto our program and be a part of it. And that's what we were able to do. We were at Medaille. We had kids from Canisius, St. Joe's, Will North, Ken West. We had a lot of Buffalo kids in there. And then we also got the Rochester kids too, because the Rochester kids are kind of the lifeblood because they're about an hour away. So they're going away to go to college, but they're not that far away that the parents can't come.
Right.
They can come watch the games. And we were able to build our program up at Medaille with the 716, the 585, the 315 in Syracuse. And you look at our program right now, we have Albany, we have New Hartford outside of Utica, we have Syracuse, we have Rochester, we have Buffalo, and we've been able to do that through the years of get kids like that. So that's what we try and do. And we say all the time, we like to say we're New York State's team. St. John's and Syracuse say they are New York State's team, and that's great. But we have all those kids from the state, and I think these kids, they've grown up playing against each other. So they've played against kids. Oh, I know that kid. I played against him. He played on this AAU team. And it's a way for us to build it up. And we've been fortunate that we have good players who are from this area.
One of the things that you just talked about are, the parents' ability to be able to go watch their kids, travel, whatever it may be, very involved in their lives as athletes. Again, all levels, little league, high school, college. I want to ask you this as a coach, because this is something that's always intrigued me. I raised a kid who grew up playing football, and I was very involved in his life and his football and got to know some of the coaches and stuff like that. And I've been around a lot of parents too, especially down in Florida, because again, a lot of these kids you could just tell they were going to go play college football somewhere, or at the very least, they were just really good high school players.
Yeah.
And for the most part, most parents, I think, have good relationships with coaches, and they understand the broad, the big picture. But you also have those parents, not me, we're not going to single anyone out specifically.
Not you.
But no, I hope not me. But in all seriousness, you do get some of those parents that can be really difficult for coaches. How do you deal with that? Now, you have coached college basketball, and we're going to talk about this shortly, on all three levels. You've been a D1 coach, D2 coach, D3 coach. You've dealt with all different types of levels of college. So even just staying there, it's just parents sometimes can be difficult for coaches. How do you handle that when you are presented with that situation? Which, again, I'm not saying that happens a lot, but it definitely happens, especially if you've been around for a while and coach like you have. I'm sure you've dealt with some.
And I can look at it from both points of view because I'm a parent.
Right? Yeah.
My wife and I have 4 great boys who all 3 of them, all 4 have now played in college.
Yeah.
And they were in high school, and there were times when they started and there were times when they didn't play as much, or maybe they were on JV and they thought they could be moved up to varsity and they didn't get up. And as a parent, you have to understand that the coach's job is to try and win and do what's best for the program. As a parent, your job is to, hey, what's best for my kid? And so I kind of look at it from that. I understand it. I get that angle where the parents are coming from. And I know, hey, the most important thing to the parents is the kid. The most important thing to the coach is the program and the team.
Right.
And you have to balance it. So I can sympathize and I can empathize where the parents are coming from, but I also have to know, hey, this is what's good. What the coaches think is what's good for the team. Is it always right? No, the coaches are not always right. Is the parents' point of view right? Not always, but we have to kind of meet a common ground. So I always say, look, I know what you're going through if your kid's not playing, because I have kids who haven't played, and I have kids who had great careers and scored, been an All-American. So I've seen both sides of it, and I just want to say, look, I get it. I can sympathize with you, but in the end, we have to do what's best for the team.
Understood. And you know what, too, also, you're coaching at a high level, all college, Division 1, 2, 3, you're at a high level. You get to college, you're playing sports. You have talent no matter where you're playing. But you've also been around like even little league stuff like that,
Yes.
or AAU,
Oh, yeah.
stuff like that. Young kids, their kid is going to be the next Luka, and he's probably like the 11th guy on the roster at the time. It's just Harris could be, and again, I'm sure the majority of your dealings have been wonderful, but you just get a minority of those parents who could just be really difficult. I'm sure it's just something that always fascinates me because I've seen both sides of it. You know what I mean? So
I told you my line in recruiting. What we tell kids is go one level below where you think you can play, go 2 levels below where your dad thinks you can play.
Yeah.
Because, and it's kind of a joke, but there's also some seriousness in there. Like, just relax and let the kid find a happy area to play where they can play, go to school, and be comfortable and get a good degree. Because in the end, let's be honest, whether you're at Canisius, whether you're at Medaille, whether you're at Daemen, you're probably not going to the NBA.
Right.
And everybody says, well, I want to play professionally, and hopefully you can. And that's what we say, hey, maybe you can. We've had guys at Medaille and at Daemen who've gone on to have great professional careers. But, in the end, it's, hey, let's have a great experience. These 4 years you're in college. Let's be let's get better, and let's get a great degree and be able to move on afterwards.
So you've been a head coach here for 27 years between Canisius, Medaille,
9 years, 8 years, yep. And now my 11th year,
Daemen. Kind of, let's for a minute here let's go back to the beginning. What got you interested in coaching to begin with? Not to, we're going back in time a little bit here, obviously, but
a lot of it.
What drew you to begin with to coaching?
Well, listen, I love the sport of basketball, right? I love playing. I wasn't very good. I had younger brothers. I grew up in a family of 7 in Connecticut, and I had younger brothers who liked to play too.
Yeah.
And I got into summer leagues, coaching them as they were growing up. And I was like, you know what? This is pretty cool. This is probably something I could do for a living. And, it kind of just worked out, right? It's a long journey to get here, but it's been a lot of fun. I've been very blessed to be able to do this for, as I always say, postponing adulthood, and it's really what I'm doing, but it's been great. It's been a chance to do it. Originally, I thought, hey, I'd be a high school coach, and then I said, hey, you know what? Maybe I could try and do this in college. And I had guys who were mentors who I was able to learn from, and I got into the college coaching business, and it just worked out.
One of them's John Beeline, a very well-known, popular coach. What did you learn from him? That was one of the questions I definitely wanted to ask you.
I actually spoke with John today.
Really?
He was a great teacher. Great teacher, but more importantly, John was a great family guy, and he always put his family first. And I thought, John really taught the fundamentals. Everybody talks about, it's 2-guard offense or all this. In the end, it was the fundamentals: passing, catching, shooting. Teach those and be a teacher. And that's what John was. John was a tremendous teacher, still is to this day, even though he's more on this side doing the microphone stuff, the Big Ten Network and all that. He's not really coaching, but he's also a guy who you can go to and talk to about it. But he really always taught the fundamentals, and he always put his family first. And I thought that was a really great thing for a young coach to learn.
Talk about it. So you were an assistant in 1996. That's the year that Canisius went to the NCAA tournament. I remember that very well. That was big news in Buffalo. It was a great year. Talk about that year and just the experience of being on that staff and that team that goes to, Cinderella, man. You got to dance. That's awesome.
So it was so special because the year before, so John took over in 1992, 92, 93, and we were not good. And we had a bunch of good young players, built it up. The next year, 93, 94, we had the longest winning streak in the country. Thank you very much. That's been the coolest thing this whole run. We'll talk about that later. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right. But so John takes over. The second year, we win 17 in a row. We have a great run, and we win our conference, the MAC, and then we get upset in the conference tournament. And we go to the NIT. We play Villanova led by a local legend, a Buffalo legend, Eric Ebers, and we get blown out. But it was a great run. The next year, we're like, all right, we got 4 starters back. We're going to be really good. We get upset in the conference tournament again. Go to the NIT. Everybody's disappointed, and we have an unbelievable run. We go to the NIT finals.
Yeah.
And it was tremendous. We went in the odd. We beat Washington State to go to New York City. They played New York. Fans stormed the court. It was unbelievable. And so then it was like, all right, what can we do next? And we have a couple seniors who are really good. And we think, hey, maybe we can go to the NCAAs. Maybe we can do it. That year, one of our seniors, Daryl Barley, gets hurts his knee. Then he breaks his thumb. We're like, oh, man. We were despondent because we just didn't think, like, man, it's just not going to happen. And we go to the MAC tournament, and we were a 4 seed, I think. Mm-hmm. And we end up making a run in the MAC tournament. And I just laugh about it because it was unbelievable. And I can still remember, winning the tournament, going to the NCAAs.
That feeling must have been unbelievable.
It was
winning
incredible.
The MAC tournament.
It was just a great run for 3 days because we weren't supposed to. It was like we weren't going to be that team. And all of a sudden that year, we had captains Javon Bam Moore. Mickey Frazier was a senior and just said, hey, I just want to, the year we gotten upset, 94, kid Tracy Bergen for Loyola they won it that year, and he sat on top of the rim. And Mickey Frazier came in and said, John, all I want to do is I want to be the guy sitting on the rim. And wouldn't you know, we were the 5th seed. We weren't even like we're supposed to win. It was supposed to be, hey, maybe we might not even win the 4-5 game.
Right.
We win that. We upset Iona in the semifinals. We beat Fairfield. Iona and Fairfield are tied. We beat Fairfield in the championship game. Mickey Frazier is on top of that rim. And it's unbelievable. And, again, I think about how blessed I am.
Yeah.
The fast forward, 2021, we're in the NCAA tournament during COVID. We're in a hotel, and we're going to play in Albany to go to the Elite Eight, which is like going to the Final Four of Division II. And I tell my Daemen guys, we get together that night, and I say, hey, here's the story of Mickey Frazier. And the backstory of Mickey Frazier is 2 weeks to the day we had played Loyola in the Niagara Falls Convention Center, and Mickey Frazier called a timeout we didn't have, and we ended up losing the game.
Oh.
And, 2 weeks later, boom, he's on top of the rim, right? Wow. With the net around his neck, everything. So It's unbelievable. So I tell my guys at Daemen that. They go back to their hotels rooms. They have their own group chat without the coach in it. One of the guys finds a picture of Mickey Frazier sitting, and they're like, wow, we're doing this. Who's going to do this? So we end up winning. We beat St. Thomas Aquinas. Tyler Hind, a kid from Southwestern, goes up from Randolph, actually, from down by Jamestown. Tyler gets up on the rim, net around his neck with the same picture like that. And I'm like, holy cow, I couldn't wait to call Mickey Frazier and tell him. So it's just cool how stuff like that happens,
We are here live, Imperial Pizza, 1035 Abbott Road. Coach, you were talking about, during COVID in 2021. Kind of go back there briefly. It's removed, but it's not that far removed. Sometimes it feels like it, like you feel like it was like a century ago. But how difficult was it as a head coach navigating coaching a college basketball team during one of the strangest and obviously most deadly times ever in the history of this country? But as a head coach of a team, just talk about the the challenges and then of navigating during COVID.
So the stories are unbelievable. Like in 2020, we make the NCAA tournament for only a second time ever in Daemen history. We are on the bus on the way down to Connecticut to play in the way they do it, the East Regional. You have 8 teams go to one spot. Bridgeport University was hosting it down in Connecticut. So we're on the bus. As we're on the bus, our compliance director, assistant AD, who's in charge of compliance, is traveling with us. And our women are already down and they're in the NCAA tournament on Long Island playing at Delphi.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, our the assistant AD leans over and goes, "Oh, this isn't good." And he goes, "Yeah, the Big East just canceled." Then it was like the SEC just can't. And we're on the bus, and I'm calling the NCAA like, "Hey, should we keep going?" And they're like, "Keep going. We haven't canceled anything." And oh no, the Big Ten just canceled. And we're like, "Oh my God, what is going on?" So we pull off in Binghamton, and we go to a restaurant in Binghamton, and I'm like, "Fellas, just get something to eat." And it's like a sports bar, and we're watching everything get canceled. Sports Center's on, and we're like, "Well, do we keep going?" They're like, hold tight. And so I'm like, "What do you guys want to do? You want to stay here? Like, is there a mall we can go walk around?" And we go walk around this mall, and there's nobody there. And I'm like, we probably caught more diseases in that mall than we did there. But we found, eventually as we're walking in, talked to a guy. He goes, "Yeah, they're going to cancel the D2 tournament too."
Oh.
So I'm like, "All right." So we call the guys together. Said, "Fellas, we're going back," and it sucked. It was awful. And we go back, and then you go into, you go back to the locker room, and we say, "I know your senior's career ended in a mall in Binghamton," right? And then the next year, we bring everybody back. And to Daemen's credit, to our athletic director Tracy Murphy, our president Gary Olson, they were like, "Hey, give the kids an experience. Let's see if we can do it." So we end up, hey, we're going to play, and we're not sure who we're going to play, when we're going to play, where we're going to play, and how it's going to work. And we ended up figuring out a way. And that's when we got to, we ended up having to play games. Guys are getting tested, getting Q-tips shoved up their nose. I always say, Pat, one of the most harrowing experiences I had as a coach, we win. We're going to the Elite Eight. And like I said, that's like going to the Final Four. This is a big deal. We're in Evansville, Indiana. And I had tested positive back. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell this with HIPAA, but it's me. I had tested positive like around Christmas time. My whole Christmas was ruined. I've sat in my bedroom the whole time. So I didn't have to test for a long time. We get to Evansville. My window is up. Now I have to test. So we take it. Everybody takes a test. Everybody's test comes back. They're negative. They can play. I'm waiting, and I still haven't gotten my test results back. And I'm going, what is going on? And I'm sitting in a meeting room by myself in Evansville, Indiana, right? And everybody's out, and the computer comes up on my email. Your test results are back. And I was scared to death to click on it. I finally click on it, and you're negative. I'm like, thank God I can coach. Because I was like, if I get positive, I'm going to just go back I'm going to rent a car, drive back by myself, and this is going to be brutal. But I end up negative. We lost to West Texas A&M, who ended up losing the national championship game. And, we played all right. And we were like, it was a bizarre thing.
Yeah.
So
now you've been, again, the head coach at Canisius, which is a D1 school. You've been the head coach at Medaille, which is D3 school. And now obviously at Daemen, a D2 school. So you've been a head coach of all three levels, college, Division 1, 2, and 3. What are to you the biggest similarities between the three, saying not necessarily the three programs, but the three levels of play, and what are three of the biggest, the differences between those levels?
It's a great question, because I'd say the similarities are, and I got this when I was a Division I coach. I went to Medaille, which was Division III. Pete Lonergan, who had been the coach at Niagara, the men's coach at Niagara, was the women's coach and athletic director at Medaille. But Pete was the coach back in the early 80s, back when they beat St. John's, and Pete had tremendous success. And he was like the one, you gotta take this job. And Pete and the other guy who helped was Tom Donahoe, the old Bills president.
Yeah, oh, wow.
Tom Donahoe was on the board at Medaille. And he called me, and I had other opportunities, like, you're a Buffalo guy, stay here. You could be a head coach. You can build this program up. And I'm like, and it was a learning curve for me to learn Division III and then Division II. I will tell you this. The similarities are the kids want to be coached. They want to play. And they're competitive. And maybe I've just been around some really good guys. And we have Medaille guys who I still keep in touch with. We have Daemen guys who we keep in touch with. And they are all just really competitive. And they wanted to learn and get better at basketball. And if you have that, you're going to be successful. The difference is the size, right? Realistically, you could see that when Daemen, we'd go play UB, and they're bigs are maybe a little bit taller than us. The guards are a little bit taller than us. The arms are a little bit longer. And that's the biggest thing is the size. But, in reality, it's guys like we have guys who can play at that level because we have guys who are competitive and they really want to play and prove they can play at that level. Maybe they have trouble getting their shot off because of the length of the defenders, but they have to figure out other ways to do it.
What you and your team are doing right now is obviously very special again.
Yeah.
The record is the record. I'm not saying it anymore, but you're the number
you
one.
You can. We've given up. Listen,
I've already blew
my knuckles are like from knocking on wood all the last few months, but it's been great.
But that's special. But I actually want to go back too, because I think one of the best things you've done in your career, looking back now, and I've gotten to learn more, is when you went to Medaille. It is what it is. That team stunk the last two.
The school's closed, so we can say whatever we want.
Okay, well they stunk. All right, they were 4-46.
Yeah.
Over a 2-year period, the 2 years before you got to that program. How difficult is it to go to a program that was as bad as they were and build it into a respectable program, which you absolutely did?
I might get choked up talking about these guys because I'll tell you this. So when I had good friends who told me, don't take the job at Medaille. Like, you're not going to be able to win there. I sat there, I looked, I said, the men's soccer team was very successful. Women's soccer team was winning. And the women's basketball, Pete Lonergan had it rolling. And I'm like, if they can win in those, we should be able to win men's basketball. And I had an assistant, Gabe Michael, who was the St. Joe's coach who passed away last year, who's a big part of my life. And Gabe, I hired Gabe and we said, look, we're going to try and build this up the right way. We're going to get guys, we get some local guys, and we were able to just throw some guys together. And, selfishly for me, I wanted to prove I could coach. A lot of people, when they get fired from a job, they go be an assistant somewhere. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know if you get better doing that. I want to get better as a coach. I want to prove I can coach. It's probably a little bit of my, I wanted to say, hey, I know what I'm doing. Yeah. And I think there was some of that in me, my stubborn Irishness. And,
I know that.
Yeah, and I thought maybe, you know what? Let me go there. And it was tough. It's tough on my family, my wife. I had just been fired from a school across the street, basically, and you're in the town. But I think I underestimated how tough it was on them, maybe. But
sure,
it allowed me to coach and allowed us. I think in the end it was tremendous because we had some of the greatest friends that we've made through Medaille. And I remember the first time we won a championship. So the first year we were 10-14. We didn't even make the conference tournament, right? And I won Coach of the Year. And I said, Jesus, how bad must they have been if we didn't make the conference tournament? They gave me Coach of the Year.
4 games in 2 seasons where you got there.
So then the next year we made the ECAC, which was like going to the NIT for Division III. And the third year we go to the NCAAs. And I still remember. And my wife, we didn't even have a locker room. We had like a meeting room that was our locker room. And my wife, I remember one of my brothers, Tommy, came up for the championship. And he walked in, he goes, this is your locker room? And I'm like, that's where we change. That's how we do it, baby, right? They were fine. And I brought my wife in, and we kind of said we had a bunch of guys who had transferred in. And I said, look, we all had guys who were in different spots. Mike Birkin had been at Fredonia. Kelly Cadello had been at Fredonia. Ben Kopp had been at Houghton. Chris Moscato had been at Mercyhurst playing football. We had guys from all different spots. I said, we had guys who maybe nobody else wanted. You had a coach who nobody else wanted. But we came together and we got to the NCAA tournament. And then the next year, we were 1 point away from the Sweet 16 with that same core group of guys. It was unbelievable. It was just it was a great story. My man, Gabe Michael, rest his soul, used to say, it's a Disney movie, Coach. It's a Disney movie. You say it to me all the time. Make it a Disney movie. And we love that. And so that was a really good group of guys. And it just showed you like, hey, this is a lot of fun coaching at this level.
Find me, I don't care what sport it is, but find me a coach who's been around long enough and coached long enough, and I will show you a coach who's been fired. I don't care what sport it is. Bill Belichick, Andy Reid. Every coach is going to get fired at some point of their career.
They got a lot bigger buyout than I had.
Talk about getting fired from Canisius and how you were able to handle that at the time. I can only imagine how tough that must have been at the time to get fired from.
We're
Canisius.
going deep. We're gonna this is like I should have a cow. I should be laying on the couch.
I should have
or
warned you,
something.
man. Yeah,
Man, holy cow.
That's what we do.
No,
here.
well, I'll tell you this. So I got hired. I was 30 years old as a head coach at Division I. I was the youngest head coach in the country. I was fired right before I turned 40. So you know, it's humbling, right? Sure. And you realize we went through a lot of things. It just didn't work. It's a tough job, Canisius, but it's you know, it was difficult. Now, I will tell you this. I had a good friend call me and said, "You were the head coach for 9 years. You know what the average lifespan of a Division I head coach is at that time?" I said, "No idea." He goes, 4.5 years. You doubled it. Congratulations.
Oh, wow.
He hung up the phone. I said, "That's pretty cool." All right, I got it. Deep breath. And then I think the great thing was, you kind of knew, you know what's coming, right? You know what's coming. And I get fired. And Bill Maher, who's the AD now, is still somebody I consider a friend, right? Just I put him in a bad spot because we lost. We had a bad year, his first year as an AD. And my wife and I were talking about it, and we, you know, 3 boys. She's pregnant with our 4th son, Mark, at the time. And my son, Patrick, was probably in 4th grade. And we were like, you know, they were tied up. My oldest guys, Matt and Patrick, especially, they were really tied up with the Canisius guys. They would go, you know, they would be at shoot around in Madison Square Garden when we played St. John's. They were at, you know, at the Carrier Dome at Syracuse. They would be there and stuff. So they were a part of it. And, you know, are like, how are we going to tell the boys? We got to tell the boys. And they got home from school, and my son Patrick said, "Good, now you can coach my team." And I said, "You're right. That's what we're doing." And I coached him at St. Ben's. I coached them. I was able to do that. And, you know, I coached Little League, and that was, you know, it was a lot of fun for me to be able to be a part of their lives. So I think in some ways it can be a blessing. It was tough. You know, it was difficult to go through, but in some ways you find the good in it. And I think when you do that, you see, you know, you see it. Things happen for a reason.
It's humbling, obviously, and it forces you to overcome adversity, which can be difficult in the moment. But I think in the long run, you end up better off for what happens, and everything happens for a reason. I truly do believe that. And does that make you, you know, what happened then, and then, you know, building up a program in Medaille now, especially what you're doing with Daemen, I feel like that would probably make you appreciate what you're doing now and what these kids are accomplishing on your team now, even more enjoyable because of that.
You know, because you know what, I really, my wife said too, I was offered like high school AD jobs, or you guys wanted me to be an insurance salesman. I probably would have made a hell of a lot more money, but they were, you know, my wife goes, "You're a coach." And she kept saying to me, "You're a coach. You should coach." And we were able to listen. You talk about blessed. I've lived in the same house. I've coached Division I, Division III, and now Division II, living in the same house. That doesn't happen. Let alone in the same city, the same house. I know I'm blessed. I know that's very rare in this profession. Usually guys get fired, they move out, they're somewhere else. We were able to raise our kids. They all went to the same elementary school, the same high school. You know, it was always important to me and my wife, I think, but, you know, definitely me. I grew up, and we all went, all my brothers, we all went to, and sisters, we went to the same high school. You know, we went to the same elementary school, high schools. You know, my wife grew up in Fredonia. Her dad was the principal of Fredonia High School, is a legend, Tom Heary. And, you know, they were able as kids to go to the same elementary school, same high school. And I think for our kids to have that thing, I think it was that experience, that to me as a parent, I think that was real important.
What other sports, when you're, I mean, you're probably always busy, but what other sports are you locked into? Like when you were growing up too? I mean, obviously you love basketball. Obviously, what else you into?
Listen, I'm like everybody else in Western New York. I think I know football, and I can sure as well coach it better than anybody, right? But no,
of course.
I'm not.
Especially on Monday mornings after a game, right?
But I am very sensitive to coaches. I would never say that. And I'm like, hey, they have a reason. They know what they're doing. You know, they're not just out there winging it, right? But obviously, we're very tied into the Bills, and we're big Bills fans. You become Sabres fans being here in Buffalo too, and hockey fans, even though they've been down. I think they're going to go on a run here pretty soon too. I'm telling you that right now. And then obviously we are a big Yankee family, we're big Yankee fans, big baseball fans. And you know, so I like baseball a lot. I really enjoy it. And it's a good, after the season, you kind of like, all right, you can watch that too.
How much as a coach, I should have asked you this before, Let me try to find the right example here. Let's say that Talking Buffalo was talking Daemen, okay? And all I did was critique and analyze your games and the job that you do. It's one thing. All right. So listen, whether you're a podcast or a content creator, whether you work in mainstream media, alternative media, whatever it may be, when you cover a sport or a team, you're the coach. I'm the media. You know what I mean? The relationship is different. We have a good relationship, but some people are really harsh on how they cover a team. Like if you're a Bills fan, you go listen to enough podcasts, especially after they lose a game, you're going to hear some guys talking a lot of shit the next day.
Sky is falling.
You get it. I'm sure. How frustrating can it be as a coach? Because, like, I'll give you an example. The Bills lose, and I'm breaking down plays, and I'm talking about what they did wrong. I said, I don't even know if that was supposed to be the right call. Like, did Josh Allen change the play at the line? Was it Joe Brady? Did Josh Allen audible out? Did he make the wrong read? Only the coaches know that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, like, when basketball, like, there's things that only you know that people who might be there covering a Daemen game,
don't know that
they don't know it.
That a kid is sick or that he just broke. You're in college, you're dealing with kid just broke up with his girlfriend or
how frustrating can
something
that
like that. You have all that stuff could happen, right? You don't know. I will tell you this too. When I was coaching Canisius, it was in the Buffalo News had Jerry Sullivan, right? Well, hide the knives. You had guys, you had columnists like they cared about college sports. They don't. There's no coverage of that now. Now it's a different world, right? And back then you had people who would critique you, who would rip you, and and say, hey, it's time to get rid of this coach, But I also understood that, I understand you have a job to do. I may not like your opinion of that,
right?
But I didn't hold that against you as a person. I saw Jerry Sullivan the other day at a high school game. It wasn't like we talked. They were friendly. He's that guy I talked to. He actually came and wrote a piece on our Daemen team.
Yeah.
So it's funny how things work. But, listen, I understand that. You understand that you have a job to do. This is how they make their living, right? And some people have to be the bad guy. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to, just get people to write. I think they try and get under people's skins. Now, you take what I was doing at Canisius, and you multiply it by 100,000 probably to what they do with the Bills, and I get it. The Bills have much more media. You have Rochester, you have Buffalo. And again, what I said before, they're trying to get clicks, right? Nowadays, they're trying to get their people to read their articles, so they have to do it. You have to the guys who are fair and who are there, and the guys who are at every game, and they know that maybe this is just a one-off, this is a bad game.
Do you feel like you have, because you are a college basketball coach, you could take Lindy Ruff with the Sabres or Sean McDermott. You have a little more insight in what they're going through, like say if things aren't going right and what the media is saying about them. In some cases, calling for jobs. Sean McDermott is, this team has been a perennial playoff team now for 8 years. Year after year, they're calling for his head at the end of the season.
I'll give you a hot take that nobody will like. He did an unbelievable job this year.
Sure.
And everybody looks at it and says, oh, they lost to Kansas City again. Again, think about where they were in August, or think of where they were last year at this time. Oh boy, they're getting rid of all these guys, and the job he did as a coach on the outside looking in, the way his team, and this reminds me of my Daemen team, the way they are connected, the way they are together, that is a leader, that is a coach. To be able to bring a group of men from different backgrounds, different ages, and get them thriving for the same goal is very difficult to do. And I can't imagine how you do it with football. We have so many guys on the team. We have 17 guys on our team. I think that's a lot, right? And, I can't imagine how it is with all those guys in football. But to do that, that's coaching. That's leadership. That's what it is. Nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants to hear we win the Super Bowl. I don't know when it got to the point when the Bills have to win the Super Bowl every year. And I get it. We're in Buffalo. We want to win. You want to win it. And we're frustrated because of the 4 Super Bowl losses. But in the end, there's no right that you're guaranteed to win a Super Bowl. Like, you have to go through the process. You have to build it up. And in the end, it's a game. And the ball bounces funny ways, and you never know how it's going to bounce.
Yeah, when we were talking over wings before this show here at Imperial, you asked me a question, and it makes perfect sense. You said, I think it was if in August, if you could have signed up for being, you know, a 3-point game in the AFC Championship or whatever,
3 minutes and 30 seconds left.
minutes.
You got the ball. You're driving. You
yeah.
score a touchdown. You go to the Super Bowl. Would you take it?
Exactly.
Now,
100%.
now, if they went, let's say they did and they scored and they got blown up by the Eagles like the Chiefs did, how you feeling? You still mad? Oh, this is terrible, right? I'm trying to bring you down to earth and give you a little sense of reality.
No, absolutely. And it absolutely could have happened. I mean, sure, it would have been disappointing, but just I needed them to get to a Super Bowl. Yeah. It's like, I'll take my chances with that. But I think part of being a good coach, like with Sean McDermott, I think he does such a good job, and you can relate to this now with Daemen, is it's not even just the X's and O's. It's like in the case of your team right now, 24 starts, 24 wins. It's keeping them kind of confident, but also like a little bit grounded and motivated. You don't want, you know, especially going into playoff time, you don't want a roster that's full of themselves, that think that they're invincible and that they can't lose.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You want them to think they can't lose, but you don't want them to practice like they can't lose.
Sure.
Right? Or play like they can't lose. You want them to play. The greatest compliment I got about our Daemen team, and I'll shift it back over to that, is I had a high school coach come to one of our games, and he called me the next day. He said, your team plays like they're fighting to make the playoffs. Yeah. And they're undefeated in February. And I said, that's like one of the greatest compliments I could get. That's awesome.
And you got one more regular season game left Saturday, 4 p.m.
Roberts Wesleyan, yep, at home.
Okay.
And then the conference tournament after that at home.
That's awesome. And I'm looking forward to it, especially after tonight. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Here's how I want to finish up. When I have a guest on for the first time, I like to do this little kind of like fun fact finale. I'm just going to ask you some kind of random questions, not like a deep thought, like whatever the first thing that kind of pops in your mind. And these will be mostly random. You know, just shoot me with what your first thing is. All right.
Okay.
Who's your favorite athlete growing up?
Dave DeBuscher, Knicks.
Okay.
There you go.
I grew up a big Knicks fan. Yeah. I still am a Knicks fan. They're good. They can't beat the best teams.
Yeah, I don't like the Knicks anymore. I'm a Nets fan.
Oh, yeah. Well, I wonder why.
My son Matt works for him. He's general manager of the G League team. So let's go Brooklyn.
Who's your favorite current NBA player right now?
I like Curry. I do like the way he plays and the joy he plays with. I think he is he's special. I think he's changed the game. I don't know if it's for the better.
I was going to ask you that.
By the way he shot, I think there are certain guys who've changed the game. I think Magic and Bird changed the game and made passing cool back in the early 80s. I think Jordan didn't really change the game because nobody was like him. I think Allen Iverson changed the game. Little guys dribble and crazy crossovers and do that. I think he changed the game in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And I think Steph has changed the game with making outside shooting a thing, right?
Sure.
And letting little guys be able to feel like, hey, I can play.
Quick little detour from Fun Fact Finale, then, because you brought that up. This intrigues me. You're a college basketball coach, so I'd love to ask you this. The NBA right now, has it just become like one of the criticisms I see all the time? Sometimes I feel it as well. It just feels like let's just chuck up a million threes a game, and it just becomes like a 3-point shootout.
It's the analytics thing, right? Everybody says, and it's not so much the players, it's the people who do analytics saying, hey, a 3 taken from the corner is a better shot than a contested 2 from 15 feet.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to disagree with that. I think it's got to be, I think what's good for you. If you're a guy, DeMar DeRozan, who is a great mid-range game, and maybe isn't great at threes. Mm-hmm. Is it really that much better for him to take a 3 in the corner? You know, I think there are guys like that. And I think you have to know your team. I get where the criticism comes from, but I also think it's cyclical. And I think the big man will come back into the game. And I think then they'll say, oh, there's too much defense in the game and everything. Think about that. It's changed. So I think this will run its course at some point.
Yeah, things change in sports. Like right now with football, like running backs were a dime a dozen. They didn't mean nothing. Now they're starting to come back and they're starting to mean an awful lot. Late night, you can't sleep, or you went to bed early, you get up middle of the night, man. You don't go to the fridge or the pantry or whatever, a snack. Like what's your kind of like your go-to late night snack?
Probably cookies, though I've kind of tried to swear off them, but yeah, that could be.
What is a TV show that you have probably watched more than any other show? Like what's your favorite TV show? I don't know.
Seinfeld.
Okay, I was going to ask you. I don't know how much of a chance you get to watch, a lot of TV. All right, Seinfeld, good one. What about movies? Like what's your most rewatchable movie? Like what movie have you probably watched more than anything else?
My wife and I watch Miracle the other night, which is a great one.
Yeah.
Hoosiers in honor of Gene Hackman. We got to say that, right?
I feel like now I got to watch that again.
Yeah.
Love that movie. It's one of my favorite
movies.
movies.
One of the great coaching movies. And then
Running the
I
picket
love
fence.
Rocky, right? Love Rocky, even
First
though
three.
you realize the first
four.
Yeah, first three. I have a former player, Jay Sarkis, who claims 4 is the best one, and I tell him
It's the best
he's
soundtrack,
crazy.
but it's not the best.
Exactly.
Movie.
That's because he's younger.
What is all right? Here's an interesting question. You've been coaching now forever. Again, you've been a head coach for 27
Another
years.
old joke. Here we go.
Let's just say you're in your 20s or whatever, and I want to be a coach, and it don't work out. It just didn't work out for you. What could you have seen yourself doing with your life if coaching just was off the table? If you would have been a coach, what would you have liked to have done for a career?
Probably a teacher, maybe a guidance counselor, maybe athletic director, somewhere along those lines.
Okay, last two here. Let's say, now it's thinned out here. Which, by the way, let's talk about that. Actually, when we were doing the show earlier, somebody gave you a shot or whatever. How cool is that to be able, when you're doing a show like this, or just coming in Imperial Pizza, whatever, to pick up some food or whatever, and people will recognize you, appreciate what you do. I imagine it's a pretty cool feeling.
So it's Buffalo, right? That's Buffalo, right? Yeah, that's what it is. It really cool. That's Buffalo. We had Spectrum News was at one of our practices interviewing one of our players, Andrew Mason, who's a senior, and he told the story that he was at Wegmans. I don't know if I'm allowed to say plugs here or whatever. He was at Wegmans shopping. Yeah. And some guy came up to him and said, "You go to Daemen? You play Daemen?" And he goes, "Yeah." He had his sweatshirt on. He goes, "Good luck. I hope you win it all."
Oh, that's awesome,
and,
man.
I have an assistant, Jalen Morris, who actually played in the NBA, played as he's a Buffalo kid. I have three assistants who are Buffalo guys too. Ryan Grandis played at Ken West. Zach Fahey played at Park School and at West Seneca. Mm-hmm. And Jalen played at St. Joe's. Jalen is back working with us this year. He told the story that to our guys, he went to work out into his fitness club. He walked in and some guy saw the sweatshirt. He goes, "Do you play at Daemen?" He goes, "Nah, I'm a coach." He goes, "I hope you win the national championship." And it's like, that's
cool,
awesome.
Man.
And I was at a place picking up a pizza. It wasn't here, sorry. But the other day, and a guy stops me. He goes, "Coach," he goes, "I went to Canisius. My daughter went, my niece went to Daemen. I hope you guys, what you're doing is crazy. This is amazing. Good luck." Good. And that's like, I told our guys that, enjoy that. Because you don't get that. Like, you know what? You're a banker. You don't get people coming up to you saying, "Hey, this is great. Congratulations. You just closed on a loan." Right? It doesn't happen that way.
No.
So enjoy this. I get it. People are enjoying it and people are excited for you guys. And that's why I tell them all the time, it ain't about me. It's about that. I'm sitting here. I says I'm representing 17 guys, 17 players, 2 managers, 4 assistant coaches. That it's just because they asked me to come do it. That's why I'm doing it, to represent those guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so let's just say we're here. All right, we had some wings, some pizza, whatever, and there's a karaoke going on right now. It's one of my favorite questions to ask. And look, in this world, I have no idea if you could sing or not. I cannot sing, I usually don't get up there. All right, well, in this world, imaginary world of ours, let's pretend that you can sing. Maybe you can't sing, but you don't care that you can't sing. Let's just put it that way.
No,
and I talk you in there.
I care for other people too much.
I say, "Coach Mike, come on, man. The crowd wants to be entertained or whatever. Get up there and sing something. What's a song that, at least in your own mind, you feel like if you got up there and you sang, even if you didn't sound particularly good, it would be something that you would enjoy or something you think that the people."
I don't know what a song is. It'd probably be Springsteen.
Yeah,
right?
Springsteen. That's a popular one. A lot of people say that. All right, last question. I always ask my guests this. Kind of a standard one. I'm sure you've heard this before. You could have 3 people over to the residence tonight for dinner, okay? Historical figures, sports figures, celebrities, whoever, whether it's for laughs or just storytelling, whatever you want it to be. But you could have any 3 people, dead or alive, whatever you want at your dinner table tonight. A couple drinks, some food, some conversation, 3 people. Who would you have?
All right. So at my house right now, when I left, my wife Maura is there, and my son Nick is there. He just played for us last year. He's at helping out at Buff State as a coach. So I get 3 picks besides them, right? They're there.
Yes.
Okay. That's easy. I'm taking my oldest son, Matt, my second son, Patrick, and my third son, my fourth son, Mark, and bringing them all back. All right? And I'm making that way. I'm going that way. I don't know if it's a cop-out,
I would have
but
expected nothing less from you. A family man right there. Absolutely the right call as well. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. I want to thank again Imperial Pizza one more time. Great wings, great pizza. If you happen to be around the South Buffalo area or on Main Street too, near Canisius, make sure you go and check them out. Coach, really cool to have you on, man. I appreciate you very much. One more game on Saturday.
Yep.
Not going to jinx you. I hope I don't jinx you. Good luck. Good luck on Saturday. Good luck the rest of the way. This was a really good time having you on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. And I will be back. Brand new show live on Sunday night. Talk to you then.